Let's get this started. Welcome everybody. This is Steve Smith, Ardalis. Going to be working today on some ASP.NET Core code using .NET 5. Let me just make sure that sound and everything is working. Just go to my channel. All right. So let's jump into some code. So here's my streaming checklist. Make sure I've done all these things. I think I'm good. Okay. We are going to work on this this site right here. So this is it running locally. So devbetter.com is for a group coaching program that I have. It has about a dozen members or so, and we meet every week and have a Discord session that kind of is going on all the time, where folks can ask questions, get help, and generally try and help people improve in their career and accelerate how quickly they're able to get that raise or find that next job. So the website has some various features and things that it's all open source. It's all on GitHub. Actually, let me change what this says here in OBS real quick so it's accurate. We are working on, where's that text box? Right there. Working on devbetter.com ASP.NET Core 5 site. How about that? That's better. Alright. So I have a GitHub site for this you can get to from here. And here's the site. Here's some issues that are on it. Some of the things that we've added are a book reading list with a bunch of ideas of books that you might want to read. And individual members can say, yeah, I've read that book. And then we have a discussion area in our Discord where you can talk about different books. And the leaderboard is an interesting idea as a way to sort of gamify the fact that certain books we've agreed are good books that developers should read, and you can compete with other members to see who's read the most books. So that's actually from a LinkedIn article I wrote a while ago. LinkedIn developer reading list, which is always hard to find, but Google finds it here. And so this is from a few years old, but then this article on motivation, this other one, kind of talks about how I used this earlier on at in my consulting company to try and motivate developers to read some of the books that we all agreed were good books that we should be reading, but it was difficult to get folks to actually take the time to read the books, even when the books were free and stuff. So some ideas we were talking about was like maybe we'd just pay people to read the books, or maybe there'd be a lottery, and every time you read a book, you'd get that. But that those didn't seem like a great option. So we just made this leaderboard, and that real quick started to get people reading books because they wanted to be closer to the top of the leaderboard and see their rank go up. So this worked quite well as a real low-tech, simple thing. I mean, we literally just printed up a piece of paper and put it on the wall in the team room, and that got people motivated. So we kind of implemented the same thing on DevBetter. So one of the things I was thinking I would do is actually take this link and link to it here. So when you come in and you see this leaderboard, this is just running localhost. So it's only got my stuff on here. It's just got me and some random book that I added here. But I want to add a link to this leaderboard to that article so folks can see kind of the genesis of that idea if they want. So let's do that. So let's look at the source code real quick. And that is here. And what are we on? Master. Let's make sure we're on the latest version. I'm probably not. Updated to that commit. Great. And we have some tests. We have our website. Let's go find where's that leaderboard. So the leaderboard's route is just whack leaderboard. So that's probably under pages, leaderboard, index, right? So here's the page. And if I wanted to add a link to this, we could just put it right up here above the table and say, I don't know if p tags are out of vogue now, but learn more about why we are tracking this in this article. And we'll just make that a link. And I'm so used to doing Markdown now that I want to just make this a link like this, right? Like you would in Markdown, but it's not Markdown. So do the old school thing here, and call that done. That looks like it'll work. Alright, so then let's just run this again. Some pretty heavy-duty web development here, adding a link to something. If we come in here now and we look at the leaderboard, we have a link, and it goes to that article. So, yay, it works. Alright, so we can ship that. We can also, may as well pull this in as well. Where would I link that from? I guess from the same place, maybe even. So, in this article, the original reading list from Nimble Pros can be found here. And we'll make that another anchor tag. Alright, and just test that link works too. Hey Tony, how's it going? Go to the leaderboard again, and we have that link we know works, and that link also works, so cool. Alright, so those are easy enough. Now, one of the things that we've been working on is being able to post notifications to Discord. So I have a Discord channel that runs, and it has, you know, various notifications for things. So here's Discord, and it's got a few bots and notifications section down here where you can get different updates for things, and so you can use webhooks to post things from .NET Core to Discord, and it's really pretty cool, and it's pretty easy to set up. So to get that going, I have an actual article that you can look at if you want to learn about this yourself. Ardalis, Discord, ASP.NET Core, something like that. You can look at this, and I'll throw this in the chat for anyone following along right now. But this is basically what we would do. And again, this code's all totally open source, so we already have here out in Dev Better Web, we already have this stuff working. So if we look at the source here, we look at infrastructure, these domain event handlers, there's a bunch of Discord handlers here that will say like, hey, log new user registered, and fire this off to Discord. So this just takes in a webhook, handles this event when it occurs, gives it some content to say here's what happened, and then sends it with that webhook. So really pretty straightforward. Now, the webhooks, I gotta think about this. I think the way I have webhooks set up now, it's just one type. So let's look back into Visual Studio, look at that same thing. So here in infrastructure, in a handler for example this, there's our webhook, and that webhook is defined where? Let's go to definition, and this is a infrastructure service webhook, and it takes in a webhook URL somewhere from an options accessor, and it just goes to admin updates. Alright, so currently, if I show you my Discord again, which hopefully you can see, it says streamer mode is enabled, so maybe you can't see some of this, but there's an admin updates spot, and that's where this stuff goes. I wanted to send some of these things to other Discord channels, because some of these things I want just admins to know about, but some of them I want different users to know about. So I think, and so they should go to a different Discord channel, right? So I think what I want to do is have that setting be multiple settings, and instead of having just a webhook service, have a different webhook per channel. Probably seems like that would make sense. So if we look at app settings here, this is going to go to your secret key for Google CAPTCHA, and then this is your Discord admin updates URL, right? So I think I need a way to get different webhooks that will fire to each different channel I want to send to. And I could just copy paste the whole webhook thing, and that would work. And maybe that's okay. Like, how much duplicate code would I have if I did that? Because the other obvious option is to make this a subclass, and then have different child classes that each correspond to a particular thing that it goes to. And that probably makes sense, because if nothing else, I'll be able to reuse all this stuff. And then these could be protected. So let's maybe think about that. Let's make this an admin webhook to make it more concrete. So let's see. Let's push our change out to master. Just add those links, because that's easy enough. And then we'll create a new branch for the rest of this work. So add links to leaderboard, commit, and push. Alright, and then let's do this other stuff the right way, which is to create a new branch. We'll call it Ardalis whack more webhooks. Create that branch. Evan says, looks like you can pass the URL into the constructor, so just call options in the event handler. That's an option, so let's look at that. So in the event handler for Discord, when we register, right, we can get this webhook, but this gets injected to us already created. But what we could do is maybe override the configuration of the URL and then just set the URL here and pass in the options accessor here he's suggesting. So the question is, if we like that better, and this is red, it's going to tell me I don't need this async, so we'll do that. Pull that out of there. Alright, so then we recently updated our editor config, so that's why we're going to like a 2-space indent. So anything I open that's different, I need to reformat. Alright, so the question is, do I want to use one webhook here and have this, what is that being set to? This webhook URL. Have this webhook URL be set through a property or even through the send command. We could pass the URL in to there. And then we just have one thing that does that. And then the fetching of the webhook URL, instead of that happening magically inside here, it would happen in the calling code. And that would let me use just this same class for everything. And that's a reasonable approach, right? It's very flexible at that point. Or to have different individual webhook services that each target a particular thing, and then they're self-contained and they know how to get their own settings. And I kind of like that better, because then the handlers don't need to think about it at all. The handlers can just be like, I need this type of webhook to go to that channel, and have it be self-contained. It's a little bit more code in this level, but I think I'll get benefits for it, because here I can keep this super simple and I don't have to add more logic into every one of these, because I have a lot of these. Right? I already have like all these different ones here. I don't want to have to add a whole bunch of extra code to every one of these if I can keep it mostly inside of the webhook itself. So I think definitely I could do it that way and make this just more flexible, but I think I want to keep this thing more specific and more knowledgeable about how to do its thing. So for now, I'm just going to make this one more specific by changing its name. And not change anything else. And then hopefully that still works. See if we break anything. Alright, and then we could make this even smart enough that we don't, hard code it. But for now, we won't worry about that. So I'm going to pull stuff up into a base class, I think. Can I use my fancy smart enum pattern for that? Possibly. To give me a list of these things. That'd be an approach, instead of hard coding it. Now, if that string only exists in literally one place, there's not a lot of value in de-stringifying it and getting rid of that magic string, because there's going to be that magic string somewhere, and if it's not repeated, there's not a lot of technical debt there. But we can look at, when we're done with this, if that needs to be pulled out somewhere. So let's start by pulling stuff up into a base webhook class. So if we make an abstract webhook class that doesn't know about what thing it's going to, and we'll call that base webhook, because that makes sense to me. Public abstract class base webhook. Alright, then what can we throw in here? Does it need to be a JSON object? I guess. Yeah, if I put that on there, I don't need it on the other one, I think. Not sure why this needs to be serializable anyway, but we'll need this client. We'll need that URL, so we'll put those up here. The URL at least probably needs to be protected, not private. So we'll make that protected. And then we want these JSON things here. So let's pull all those up. They're all public, and then they can be set to anything. So that's all fine. This thing here, if we just inherit from base webhook, then the client, is the client being passed into us? No, I'm just newing it up. So I new up the client there and there, which is not great. Where do I use the client? Here. So send just takes and serializes myself and sends it. So I don't need to do any of this. This can all be in my base type. So I can pull this out and put it into base class, and we'll make it virtual just in case I need to do anything with it. Then I don't need the client here, I don't think, because I'm just going to new it up in the base constructor. Right, just need that. That goes up here. And really, that could even just go here. And I don't need this. Okay, so I'll have an HTTP client. That's the only place that's used, so it's not used here. So that's fine. With that gone, I don't need it here, or here, or here. Oh, wrong one. There's that. Alright, I don't need all these properties anymore because I moved those. So, and I don't need this read-only webhook URL because I moved that. So those all go away. Alright. Now you're going to complain that it's read-only. Cannot be assigned to except in the constructor. BM Hitman. Oh, awesome. Thanks for the subscription, man. You're awesome. Okay, so why can't I set that? Well, because I made it read-only. Since it's read-only, I can only set it in the constructor, and only in the constructor of base webhook. I think I don't want that to necessarily be read-only, because I might want to make that a property, but yeah, for now, let's just pull it in. Keep that the way it is. So it's just a string. So string webhook URL initialize. Alright, so now that's happy. And then these things, let's see, this one's easy. This one just goes to base webhook URL. That. Why are you helping? That. There we go. Alright, and then I don't need this, so that's easy enough. Now, if I pass in an options accessor so I can fetch it from options, do I want that here or do I want that in the base? I guess I need it here because otherwise I don't know which thing to read. So I can do the guard, I can do the other guard, but then how do I set this? Because it needs to be set through the constructor. So am I on? I'm on .NET 5. I wonder if instead of making it read-only, if I make it init, will that let me set it? No, because I'm not on that version of C#. So let's just leave it there. I'm watching for a long time, and content's informative. Awesome. Thanks, and keep doing what you're doing. Cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm just going to make it not read-only. That solves all my problems. This thing can now be set here. It could also be set in other places, but I might go and fix that to be init only at some point. There's no argument that corresponds to the base one. Okay, so the question is there a way for me to do this and pass in the right one where it's that? And I suppose I can. What if I just do this? I gotta test this to see if this works, because I don't remember the order. But yeah, that's not gonna work. Options exit or possible null reference. Yeah, I check it here. I guess I could do this and this, but even that's not gonna work, right? Right, you just don't want that to be ever null. So if I tell it I know it's not null, here and here, will that do it? Options, it's not null here. Okay, yeah, so what about this one? Is this the one you're complaining about? Value is not null here. Possible null reference. So I guess it's just this one that you're worried about. Okay. Maybe that works. Alright. Now my question is, does this guard clause run before this thing happens? I can't remember that sequence. I think it does. But in any case, as long as the thing's not null, this will all work. If it is null, it's going to throw an exception one way or another. Either it's going to throw an exception because of my guard clause, or it's going to throw an exception when it tries to actually set the thing. And I can be extra careful, and I can just say, give me one of these, and put it up here, and we'll catch it up here then. And then we're covered no matter what. Right? Okay, so that should all work. Let's see what else I can pull up, if anything. So this ID token one, I don't think I'm using that anywhere. It's got 0 references, so I'm not even sure I need that. Discord app. So this is for anything Discord. This really feels like something I would want to have in my base, but right now I don't have an easy way to call it. But I guess I'll pull that up, because I'm not using it here anyway, so we'll throw that up here and put it in base webhook. And then if something magically ever needs to use that, I'll have it there for posterity. Hill Hansen, I'm pretty sure the base constructor runs first. Okay. So this would run, and then this would run. In which case, this will be probably superfluous to the other one, but it won't really cause any problems. So it's fine. If the worst case scenario is that I'm being too careful about nulls, and that's cheap, and I'm okay with that. So, all right. So what are we going to do on send? Is this ever going to change from one webhook to another? I mean, it might just be that the only thing I'm going to have in this class when I'm all done is this code, which is fine. So let's take this, and none of this is specific to what I'm doing right here. So yeah, let's pull this out. Let's pull that into the base. And when we're done, the only thing we have left really are a couple constructors that set where we want to get this from. And that makes sense, because the thing that we're sending is coming from somewhere else. We'll take this comment and throw that on this base class now because it's basically where all the code went. And let's move this into its own class. Move type to there. Alright. And then if I want to do a different one of these that goes to another location, I can. So let me just build this. And I have in my Discord, where's my Discord? There it is. I have this bot testing one in my Discord. So I can go to its updates here and find integrations and create a webhook. So this is how you would do this. So I can create a webhook, give it whatever name, copy this webhook URL, which I now have. And if you were to use it, you would be able to send notifications to this thing as well on my Discord. But I'll take that and secretly go put it somewhere. Let's go into app settings, and I'm going to put it right here without you seeing it. We'll paste that in. So now I've got that webhook URL. We'll save it, and we'll switch back to here. And what are some things that bring this back up for you? That trigger here. So updating my profile, I think, yeah, updating my profile will send into that webhook. So if I run this now, theoretically, if I didn't break anything, that code will be there. And I can come in here and I can go to my profile for this person, and I can edit something here and say my name is Stevester and save that. And if all my integrations work, I will get a bot testing thing, and it'll look something like this, and it'll say user Stevester Smith just updated their profile. So look at that, it worked. Alright, so what I want now is a way to have different channels here get different things. So like there's this book discussion channel. It also has a URL that I can use to send things to. So now I can create a different webhook with a different setting for the book channel, and pass anything I want to send to the book channel I can send there. So let's go back to our code since we verified that we didn't break anything. And if it's not an admin update, maybe it's a book discussion update. Alright, so we'll copy this. And we'll say, let's create book discussion webhook. Which we just need to copy that to our constructors. Bam, bam. And this should be book discussion. Alright, and then I can go down now to my app settings. And I need to make sure to do this in production as well at some point. But I can come in here and I can do book discussion. And then I need to go over here. I'll show you how this works again. If you come up to your channel and say edit channel, go to integrations, go to create a webhook, say copy that URL. That's all you need. You can give your bot a name if you want. So this could be the dev better con bot, let's say. I don't think that matters, but we can make sure I save the name of that bot. And I already copied, I don't know if that changes, I don't think it does. Copy that URL and paste it in here, and that works. And we'll just close that and bring this back up. Let's put book discussion in its own file. Now these various webhooks, I have wired up admin updates webhooks, so there's a reference to it somewhere in startup that wired this up. So let's see where that would be. Handler in this module right here. Alright, so I'm going to need another one for the other thing I just created. So in my AutoFac module, which lives inside my infrastructure project, I'm currently registering admin updates webhook, instance per dependency, which is basically the same as scoped, I believe. Anyway, we're going to do the same exact thing now for the books one. So, what did I call that books one? Book discussion webhook. Alright, and reformat all this with the right indents. And build that. Hey Fiseni, how's it going? Okay, so what I would like is when someone updates their books that they've read, which is in core on an entity of a member, member has an option, collection of books read here, which has a list of books, and they can somewhere say update a book or something like that, add a book read here. And so this will create or update an event called books, or actually it calls this helper method that creates a member updated event for books. And currently member updated events go to the admin updates channel, which only admins can see. I would like for this to go in Discord to the book discussion. And so to differentiate it from a different type of event, I need to add, a book updated event. And then the question becomes, do I also want to say that they updated their profile? Like, is the books read part of their profile? Yeah, kinda. So should I also post? Should I post to two places? And I kind of risk spamming my Discord server if people are rapidly or frequently updating their things, and you're constantly getting bombarded with these links. So I think I'll risk that for now, and I will just add a separate new event for a book added event. And we won't add an event for if someone removes one, if they made a mistake or something like that. I think we'll just add one here. So when we add a new book read, we'll create an event. So we need to create an event. There's already a book updated event. I think that's different. That's for if we update the list of books, not a member has changed what books they've read. So I think we need like a version of member updated that's actually a member added book read event. And events should typically be immutable and past tense. So the naming of this should be a past tense thing that happened. So what happened? A member added a book. So the member added book event makes sense to me. So we'll copy that and paste it here. Now if you're not familiar with domain events, I'll walk you through in a second how this thing actually works. But we'll move this to its own file, member added book event, and the update details I can pass in inside of member, or I could pass in the book here and figure it out in here. Probably it's better to pass in the book here, I think. So I'm going to know that here. I'm going to know the book. So let's do that. Let's just pass in member added book event book here. And we'll create a property for the book there. And Viceni says, do you have this in a public repo? Yeah, it's public. The whole website's open source. So if you go to devbetter.com, there's a link to GitHub in the top right. So here's what I'm working on, but if you actually go to the live devbetter.com site, and it works, there it is. This little GitHub link in the top right will take you to the repo, and this has the code I'm working on. And you'll see if you look at the issues list, there's something here that says when a member adds a book to their books read list, send a notification. So that's pretty much what I'm working on. So I may as well assign myself here. So that's our issue that we're dealing with. Any other questions? Wouldn't it be member read book event? Well, that reads like not necessarily. Well, I don't know that mine's any better. Member added book. Is it a books read list? Or is it a book added list? I don't know. That's a good question. Add book read. Sure, I can get behind that. So let's think about that. So member added book read event. Is that what you're saying? Member book read event. List the books we've read. Yeah, certainly. So member added book read. The problem I don't like read is that you can't tell if it's read or read. when you read it out of context, but I think it does help here, so I agree with you. So let's put that there. Let's remember to get rid of update details there and there. So that's all we need is the member in the book. I want to rename the file, which Visual Studio doesn't do for me, sadly. ReSharper would, but someday Visual Studio will give us that. Alright, so then in member, we just need to create that event. So here's how we do it here. Right, we take this event, we new it up, and we do events.add. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to say, if I don't have any books, this check here is saying, is this already in our list? So if it is already in our list, we're not going to do anything. But if I haven't already read this book, then I will go ahead and add it. So we'll add it. Then we'll create a thing that says we updated our books list. That's going to trigger this member updated event. We decide we're going to keep that for now, even though it's going to send multiple notifications as a result. You always repeat that, but VS actually does rename the file. At least it works for me. Yeah, I have mentioned it a few times, but let's test it. All right, there's a way to do it, right? And if you do it from here first, it works fine. All right, but let's just see if maybe I'm being unfair, because I am on a preview, latest preview. If I do member 2, control dot, rename, it didn't change it. Look, it's still member over here. So what's the secret sauce to make it do it? Do I have to tell it again? Like, no, really, I wanted you to rename. Ah, look at that. That's new. Member rename file. Okay, I'll tell you that's there now. I will admit that they have added it. Awesome. So ReSharper would do all that in one step without having to do it. So that is helpful. All right, let's rename this back, and we'll see if that broke anything. Looks like it's good. So cool. All right, so I don't have to do that anymore. Excellent. Someday they will do that, and that day apparently was in the past. So thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it. And I'm happy that that now works. Although I would do it when like I said, I would do it when I renamed the class. When I renamed the class, if you notice that the file was matching the class before, then hey, rename it. Now I don't know why I have all this commented code. I don't think I left that there. So I'm going to get rid of this because I don't think it's being used. And it's just cluttering things up. So if somebody else that was working on this needs it, they can fetch it out of source control. But this will be a little cleaner now without it. Alright, so where were we? We were in member, add book, just somewhere down here. Get rid of this as well. Too many comments in my code, I don't like it. We're going to create a new event. So var new book read event equal new member added book read event, which takes in the member and the book, and that should work. And we need to just say events.add the event. Alright, now I'm sure some people watching this don't know what the heck this is doing, so let me share with you what that does real quick. So this is using a pattern called domain events. There's a couple different kinds of domain events. There's pre-persistence and post-persistence. Because this is firing off notifications to outside systems, I want to use a post-persistence domain event. And what that means is that I'm going to save the new state of member, and member is going to have this book added to their collection, which means the database is going to reflect that, and everything's going to be, in my database correctly that this book was added. And the way all that happens is in Entity Framework over here in the data access part of my infrastructure. This appdb context has a save changes method that'll get called. And so when I save changes, it's going to call base.savechanges, and everything gets saved. And if it doesn't, then it's going to blow up on this line. And there's going to be an exception, and nothing else will happen. But if it works, then there won't be an exception. And that means we're going to continue on down through here. And when we do, this dispatcher, which in my more updated versions of my clean architecture template uses mediator, this dispatcher will go and find all the, well, it won't, but we will go and find all of the entities that have any events. Right? So this base events collection exists on base entity, which is the base type all my entities use. And then if there are any that have events there, it'll loop through, it'll take those events out, And then for every event, it will dispatch that event. And when that happens, what it does is it goes and it finds anything that's handling that event, any class that implements the iHandle interface will fire. So for example, over here on the right, we have all these handlers that talk to Discord. And so when a member is updated, there is a Discord that does, I don't know, somewhere there's a member updated something there. Maybe that's not over there. Maybe it's in here. None of these things seem to have the name of that. So I'm wondering where that is. Thanks for the follow, Sav Smith. Works automatically on rename, but I might have it for some extension, not sure. Okay, so for you, there isn't 2 steps. For me, it was 2 steps for the rename. That's fine. It still works. I'm still glad that they have it. Alright, so any one of these will show you the example I want to show, which is just that there's this iHandle of T event. So when someone resets their password, it fires off a password reset event, and then there's this thing here that fires that off. And while we're here, we can reformat this. And since this thing doesn't need to do an await, it's telling me I can pull that out of there. Or it's telling me use a discard. I don't want to discard, but I can get rid of that. Alright. Alright, so that's how the domain events work. And so when I save that member who has newly added a new book, it should fire off the event. And I'll test that in just a second to verify it works, but let me just think if I've forgotten anything. So when we add a book read, we should hit this code, add this event, add it to my collection of events. When I save, it's going to have a handler, and I don't have a handler yet for this, so that's the part I'm missing. That's what I still need to do. Maybe it was this user update. Yeah, so this thing just needs to be renamed. Discord log member update. Let's call it that. Log member update handler. Control dot rename. Notice it doesn't rename it in the Solution Explorer. Control dot again, rename file. There we go. I'm getting it. That's what I want. And then we'll fix the formatting. Control KD. And then we'll fix the await that I don't need. Remove async await. And now maybe you're happy. Now you're happy. Okay, so that's all to the good. Everything should build. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create one for books read. So we'll just do copy in place, Discord, log, member, add book read handler, member, added book read event is good enough. I don't want to rename because sometimes it'll rename the other one that's sitting right here. So I'll do this copy myself, and we'll implement this myself. And then I'll just take the body of it, so this handle method, take this body here, put that in here, and I guess we'll just call this domain event to make it easy. I don't need that one anymore. Return webhook message string. So this user here just updated their profile. No, just finished reading, and maybe they didn't, maybe they read it a long time ago, but we'll go with it. What is it? It's not a member updated event though, is it? It's this event. I'm not sure I really need to have this as 2 different things. What is this really adding? Can I just put that here? Maybe? I'll leave it like this for now. Time for feature folders? Maybe. Inside where though, Tony? What if you have exceptions while dispatching events? The caller of St. Changes might have the wrong information. How do you handle that? Right now it doesn't get handled very well, I admit. It just blows up, and whichever ones it gets to, and the ones it doesn't get to, they don't fire. So there's no current try-catch logic in my implementation of this pattern. Hey, Dylan Beatty. Coming in with 9 people. Awesome. Thank you for the raid. Welcome. Hey, what's up? What were you guys working on? So let's see. I'm going to add. Oh, that's a bad name for that. Let's just call it domain event. Advent day of code day 18. Nice. Cool. All right. I haven't done the day of code or the advent of code stuff. I should try that sometime. That would be a good thing to stream. I'd only have like 3 streams in the month of December though, so I don't know that it would that I'd get through very much just on stream, but that would be cool. What language were you using? C# or JavaScript or what? .book.title. That's all we need here. Exclamation point. Check it out here. What would I check out here? I can check out the leaderboard. Check out the leaderboard. Today we did it in Peg.js. What is Peg.js? Sort of JavaScript. We actually built a parser. Just return the correct answer. Alright, nice. We are working on an ASP.NET Core web app for a site called devbetter.com, which looks like this. If you go out, you can go see it publicly. Actually, that's hitting my localhost. But if you go to devbetter.com like this, looks like that. Somebody's asking if I'm on a treadmill. Yep, I'm just floating. But no, I'm on a treadmill. I've got a bot that'll answer that question because people ask that every week. Devbetter.com is an ASP.NET Core site running .NET 5. It's all open source, so you can go click on this GitHub link up here in the top right. It'll take you to this GitHub. We are now working on this issue right now. It says, hey, when a user says that they finished reading a book, we would like to post that to our Discord, because it's a private Discord for this group, and just announce that, hey, so-and-so just read this book. Because we have a book discussion channel where people like to talk about books. So we also have a leaderboard. So I'll show that in just a second when I run the code. But the leaderboard is just a way to incentivize members to try and read more books than other members. And it's a simple little way to gamify competition among the members. So yeah, so that's what we're building, and we're using .NET 5 and C# and ASP.NET Core, and domain-driven design and clean architecture. So this is all built basically from my clean architecture template, which you can find on my GitHub. I'll show you a link to it if you're interested. So Ardalis clean architecture. Go here, and this is kind of the starting point for what this other site is built off of. And it has basically these projects that you get, and they're kind of organized to support solid code and domain-driven design and having all your dependencies point the right way and things like that. So this is just a template. It's not a sample app. It's meant to be something you can use as a starting point. In fact, you can use, there's a Visual Studio project template you can use with it. It's probably a little bit out of date. Or there's an even more up-to-date .NET CLI template. So you can install this template, and then you can just say .NET new clean-arc -o, and then acme.myproject, and it'll create it for you. So you could use that to start something that then would look like what I'm working on right here, where you can see it has that same kind of solution structure. So we're just about at the point where we're going to test out our integration with Discord, which I'm hoping will work. So why is that red? It doesn't exist, right, because I renamed it. So this domain event became that, but I'm not going to need that anyway, because I was going to switch that to be the leaderboard. So I think that is just devbetter.com whack leaderboard, I think. And that's going to be the real live site, but that's fine. So if I look at let's run this thing locally again. Here we are, there it is, here's the leaderboard. This is running localhost, so it's just me, and so it's only got one book and it's only got one member, because I'm real good about having lots of good test data. But when I read another book, which I can do from my profile, I can go to my profile, I can say here's my books that I've read, and I can say remove this book, remove, and that should not really fire off. Well, it will fire off a profile changed event, but that's it. So over here in Discord, in bot testing, is that what I just did? Yeah. So there's a new Discord thing right here at 12:51 p.m., which is now. It's just saying, hey, I updated my profile. That's because I removed that book. Alright, and I'm going to add it back in. So when I add it back in, we should see something show up on this book discussion, if everything is working, which I don't have that much confidence in. So let's put that there, and book discussion, that should have something unread in it if this works. So we're going to say, hey, I've read this book. I'm going to add it, and it added it here. Alright, we got that, but it didn't add it here. So we're missing a step somewhere to integrate that. So what did we miss? Let me think through this. So when we go to the member, we definitely hit add book read. We created this, we added that new book event, and we should have had our handler fire when we hit that. So we have Discord, member update handler, and we had this book one, which I need to move to a different file here. So now we have this member add book handler. Oh, and it's going to the wrong webhook. That's why. Okay, so we made a new webhook. And so what we probably saw, if I bring this all the way up here, there's our message. So it did work, but it went to the wrong webhook because it still went to the admin webhook. So I have a new book discussion webhook. Let's get that fixed. So all I have to do here now to make this work, and remember we could have changed this webhook thing to be configurable, and I could have passed it in the name of the place to put it in here. I decided, and maybe I'll change my mind, that I was preferring to have a strongly typed thing for each destination point. So I created a new webhook specifically for, there's a service here, this book discussion webhook. So we'll say book discussion webhook, and that's my webhook. And if I just change these two bits here to say that that's my type, and then I rerun this, stop my web server, rerun. Okay, we'll go back to me and my profile and my books, edit, and we'll remove that book, and that did what we expect. Bring Discord back up here, put it over there, and now we say we're going to add this book right there, and book discussion didn't work. Come on. User just finished reading. Alright, why did that happen? Alright. This is going to be so awesome when it finally works. So what did we forget? We're on localhost. We're updating the thing. It's firing off the events. I rebuilt, I restarted. It's a book discussion website. Did I not change the webhook to use? There's the book discussion thing. Maybe I didn't set the app setting correctly. So I thought I did. Go back to Discord. Right click on here, get the channel, find the bot, integration, there's the webhook, view the webhook, Bettercom bot, copy the URL, okay, take this where you can't see it, go find my settings, go into app settings, there's a book discussion setting, under Discord webhook URLs, paste that in there, it was already there, didn't change, so that's the same. Okay, so now when I pulled in the base class, did I not change it? Maybe that's what I did. So here's my base class for a webhook. Creates this client, has that URL. This webhook URL here gets set here, gets used here. That all looks fine. Anybody in the peanut gallery see something I did that was wrong? So it's working, it's just sending it to admin instead of sending it to the book discussion. So this thing looks like this is firing. Thanks for the follow, Noriega, appreciate it. That is what it should be fetching, right? Oh, here it is, right there, there's the problem. Options accessor dot value. I need to go to this type. That's what I didn't add. So I gotta go to this definition. I never added a type here for book discussion. Bam. And then this book discussion webhook right there needs to be book discussion. So the strongly typed setting is what I missed. I saw this, but that's wrong because it should have been here also. Okay. That. Okay, so this really ought to be a name of on that, so I don't get confused by that next time. So that should be name of that. Right? And one more paren. Okay, so now I won't get thrown by that again, that magic string. So let's take that whole thing and put that in the admin one as well. Which was where? Where'd the admin updates one go? Admin updates webhook, right? I want this there. And that should be admin updates. That's all good now. But where? You just need to be renamed. There. Okay, good. Everything is named correctly. Everything compiles correctly. Drum roll. Let's do this demo. Maybe it'll work this time. Alright, so we got our site right here. Let's put that on the right. We got our Discord right here. Let's close that out. We got book discussion there on the left. We go to our profile. We edit our books. We remove a book. Over here we get something saying I updated my profile. We add a book. Add it. Woohoo! It turned unread. There's something there. Alright. And that actually is live, so that's going to my real Discord. I suppose if I were doing a lot of this, I'd want to have like a test Discord server I was using just for this stuff. But for now, it's using the real one. Sometimes I use this bot testing channel just for that type of thing. But this is ready to ship, basically. So now to ship this, I want to create a pull request. So let me commit all my changes. So we added new domain event for books added. Added handler to post to Discord when new books are added. Fixes. I guess we'll do that in the PR. So commit all this, and we'll push this out. Let's go back to the website for GitHub. I don't need any of these localhost things anymore because the things actually worked. I don't need clean architecture. I need this. So 155 is what I am fixing. So I'm going to create a pull request right here. More webhooks. Works. Book added event and webhook. And this fixes that. Are you using NRT's null reference types? Do you need the guard against null? I am, and so probably I don't. But I haven't ripped them all out yet. So when we updated to that version of C#, we turned on nullable enable. The guards were already there. We just haven't ripped them out yet. And I'm still in the habit of using them. So it's just me being extra conservative. Create the pull request. But yeah, I think at some point I'll create an issue to just go through and clean those out, and just verify that everything still works fine and that nulls are not a thing that gets in the way or causes problems. Okay, so the other thing we need to do is get that Discord URL into production. So to do that, I need to go to Azure. So let's go to portal.azure.com. If everything works correctly on my my build process, it will actually deploy, and then it will blow up because it can't find that URL that it wants. So I need to go here, and there's a configuration spot, and in my configuration I have various settings for things, and one of those settings is Discord webhook URLs : admin updates. I want to create one kind of like that, It's going to let me copy paste it? Not easily. So I don't want to show the value. I just want to copy it. But that's okay. Discord webhook URLs : That's what I need. So I need to add a new application setting. Oh, good. It'll let me see it. So Discord webhook URLs : and the new one we named what? Not admin updates. Books read. Book discussion. Book discussion. So just double check. Down here, my app settings. It is definitely book discussion. All right, good. So up here, : book discussion, and then we'll just take this somewhere you can't see it, and we'll post that URL in there. So from app settings, grab that one, and then over here, paste it, and say OK. And it occurs to me I'm going to have to change this in a minute anyway. But at least now it's there for the time being. So what I foolishly think I did, if we come here, is I committed all this stuff to GitHub in an open source project. So those Discord URLs that I've been so careful about not showing you are all out there in source control. So I just need to recreate them. So if you ever do that with a bot and you want to change it, all you have to do is nuke the bot and create a new one, which I'll do perhaps after the stream. So you know, you've got an hour or so perhaps that you can screw with my Discord bots if you want, if you were quick on the draw with the URLs. Although if I see that happening, I'll do it faster. But yeah, otherwise everything is set, right? So here's now my environment variables in production, in this app settings thing in Azure, which I have to save still, which I always forget, so let's save it. Now those should be saved. Cool. And then if I go out to the production version of DevBetter, I can find that and change it. Yeah, I mean, walking on a treadmill and talking, it's, you know, if you can walk like on a trail in the park and have a conversation with somebody, I mean, you can do this. Like, it's not that impressive, honestly. If you want to see like how hard is it to type, I actually have a YouTube of Ardalis treadmill typing, something like that. So here, I actually charted like what effect it had on my typing abilities while I was walking. So, you know, you can go, let me mute this, go out here and see, like, here's this chart that I built of how fast could I type at what miles per hour speed. And the treadmill goes up to, you know, 4 miles per hour. So, you know, that was kind of interesting. You can go look at that later if you want. But it's not too bad. It's something where if you get tired or you really need to concentrate or something, you can always stop, right? So like I'm going at 1.1 miles per hour right now. So it's like it's a really slow step. So it's not like I'm, you know, all out of breath and going really fast or anything. But it's just a standing desk otherwise. So if I stop, then I'm still just standing at a standing desk, and that's fine. And if I get tired of standing, I have a drafting chair that's like right here, and I just set the drafting chair on the treadmill, and that works fine. And so it's a high chair that can, you know, raise up high enough that you're at the same level here. And so it gives you all the options of how you might want to work. If you want to walk, you can. If you want to stand, you can. If you want to sit, you can. So it works well. Play Smart Kentucky, at least I think that's what KY is for, is and also it is very slow there, so it isn't like you're breaking apart. Yeah. Okay, so this is all good. I can go back to my list of issues, and we'll check this one off once that PR gets merged. So that one's there. This is here. Did my builds pass? Everything's green. Let's go ahead and merge this in. And we can delete that branch. And then we can go back to my code. We can switch to master and do a pull. And and that should get us right back to where we were. Now at this point, I do want to clean these up, so I'll show them to you, but I'm getting rid of them. So we'll nuke these and say, test URL goes here, because I need to redo those because I accidentally checked them in. So that's something you have to watch out for if you're doing stuff with app settings. It's probably a better idea to do it in an environment variable, even locally, just so it's never in your source control and you don't have that risk of checking it in. So like up here, you can see I've got these other things that are like, your stuff goes here, and this connection string, has no secrets in it, right? It's just using trusted connection true. So again, you want to make sure that your source control doesn't end up with secrets in it. So while I'm thinking of this, let me go ahead and just change up those URLs. Can't walk and chew at the same time. Yeah, it can be tough, right? But like a lot of times that we do stuff as developers, you're just reading emails, or you're in a meeting and it's other people talking and you're just listening, right? You just start walking, get some steps in, help the blood flow. Sometimes like after a big lunch or something, you're kind of crashing in the afternoon. If you can walk, right, you can burn off some of those carbs that you had for lunch or whatever. That helps a lot, so you're not getting that drowsiness or whatever that you might hit in the afternoon. It helps a lot. So, all right. So I want to change those. So I'm going to go to Discord, which I can't find. Where's Discord? Here's Discord. I want to go to my admin updates and create a new bot URL. So here's my integration. Here's my webhook. It's Spidey bot. We're going to delete this bot because I shared the URL, so that's bad. So delete that webhook. Delete. Create a new webhook. Call it devbettercombot. Copy that webhook URL and not store it in and save changes, and not store it in source control like a fool, but instead just go here and stick it out in production. So edit the admin updates bot URL, paste that in and say OK and save. Alright, and then we'll do the same thing now with the book discussion one here. Integrations, view webhooks. There's the bot we just created. Delete it. Delete. Sorry if you were trying to create something that would talk to my webhooks real fast. You weren't fast enough. devbettercombot. We can use the same name again. Copy that. Save that. Close that. Close that. And then lastly, go edit it in Azure. And paste that. Say OK. Say save. Say no really save. And everything should be good. Alright, so then if I want to test this, I will go out to the production devbetter.com, which I'm not showing you, and update my books read. Let's see, has it deployed? I will show you this. Let's see if it deployed. Pull request, actions, publish. It is still publishing, so I'll give this a moment to publish. For anyone, excuse me. All right. For anyone that's interested in this process, this is just using GitHub Actions to do my deployments. So under code, there's an _git or a .github workflows folder here. You can set up various YAML files. There's templates for them, so you can just say add action and it'll give you a template. For this, we're doing a publish, and this is a publish that is going to run only on the master branch. So when I merge a PR, it will use Windows. Not sure why it's on Windows. It could be using Linux. It should work just the same for .NET Core. It'll check out my code. It's going to build it with .NET 5. It'll build and test everything. It'll make it release mode. Then it's going to log in to Azure, and there's secrets that you can store in GitHub, so it has the credentials it needs. And then it's going to do a web app deploy to the name of my web app, which is another thing that's in the environment, which is up here. So the web app name is devbetter. That's the same web app that we're looking at here in the portal. So when that's done, go back to actions. Did I kill enough time? Not yet. when that's done, come on, it's been 5 minutes. Do your thing. It will have deployed. So let's go. Let's go. Come on, GitHub, quicker. Oh, that beeping is the treadmill. There it goes. Dun, dun, dun. Maybe. Good, good, good. Alright, so now it's in production. So now, let's see. I'm going to go to Discord one more time. So here's Discord. I'm going to go read the books read section. So that will not have anything read in it. Okay, and then we'll go back to bot testing. We'll bring this back up where you can see it. I'll bring this down here. And let me go edit my books read in production. So we'll see if it all comes together. So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to say it's taking a minute to start because I just published the site. There it goes. So I'm going to remove a book that I have actually read. So we'll pull off Domain-Driven Design by Eric Evans, which is on our list. And when I remove that, oh yeah, it should have fired off to admin updates. Good. Okay. So when I add it back, it should show up in book discussion. So let's see if that's all working. Domain-Driven Design, add. It works. Look at that. All right. Cool. So we can mark that as done. So come back to here, and we'll bring this back up where y'all can see it. That was my PR. This already got closed, I think, because I linked it. Yep. So we're closed. When a member adds a book, send a notification to the DevBetterCon book discussion. Good. Yeah, that's a discourse client. It's just using webhooks, right? So it's not anything too special. I can show you that code again real quick if you weren't here for it. So this is all out there, open source here. Just go to GitHub, DevBetterCom, DevBetterWeb. Here's the URL. And the code that you want, if you want to do this yourself, I actually have a blog about this here. It shows you everything you need to know. So it's really pretty easy, and it's kind of cool. But in the code, which again you can get online, there's now a base webhook that has everything you need. And so that's borrowed from this person here, Helsing Discord webhook. Took that code and modified it. You specify these properties that need to be serialized because you're going to send them to Discord. And then this send task kind of does all the work of wrapping it all up and sending it. And then you just need this send method here where you specify the content that you're going to send and the URL you're going to send it to. And so for me to do what I just did, I just have to send a message. So like when someone reads a book, it comes into this book discussion webhook and fires that off. And so there's a handler that actually does the thing that wraps this. So Discord member add book read handler. And it says user first last just finished reading that book. Mizu80 says, I'm trying to understand how DevBetter works. I love your course on Employer site and presentation you give. If I understand correctly, DevBetter is a membership I pay to get access to a Discord channel, correct? Yeah, it's a Discord channel and also weekly live Q&A sessions. So it's and one-on-one conversations too. So yeah, so it's a paid private coaching program basically. So you can read the homepage about DevBetter. Down at the bottom there's some testimonials. Basically trying to help folks that want to get better in their career. So we talk, some of it's tech, some of it's like, learning different technologies and things. Some of it's marketing. How do you get yourself marketed better so you can get that better job that you want or get that promotion you want. Some of it's just finance, like what are some things you can do to get side income and try and become more financially independent. And some of it's stuff like interviewing skills and things like that. So is there a clear track of the mentorship? No. Not so much, because everybody's coming from a different spot. So the members are in all different stages of their career. So it is pretty ad hoc, tailored to whatever you are thinking that you need. It's also, the members help each other a lot too. So like if I'm busy, if I'm just working all day on something, or I have a training class where I can't be checking Discord, and folks have questions about things, 9 times out of 10, somebody else has already answered the question before I even get in there and say, yeah, no, that was a good answer. So it's a nice private community of just smart people that want to get better. So the only reason that I'm charging is so that it's a priority for me to spend my time on it. And it's charged at a reasonably high amount, because we don't want it to be flooded with too many people where it's not useful. There's plenty of free Discord communities and Slack communities and things out there, so if you're interested in just finding a place where you can ask questions and get to know people, there's lots of those out there. This one is meant to be different in that it's meant to be something where it's small enough that everybody knows each other. So that's the business case behind it. If you do become a member of DevBetter and you do stay with it for 2 years, then you become an alumni and you don't have to pay anything. Right at that point, you've paid your dues. You're part of the community at that point. You can stay as long as you want. So it's not like an endless thing you'd have to keep paying for forever. And then the website is something, it's open source, because it provides a thing that we can work on together if we want to. So there's no requirement that members would work on this project, but it's very helpful sometimes to be able to actually do work on something. And so we have some private projects we work on. We do coding exercises like katas and things sometimes, but we also have the website itself where we can look and see how things work and try and implement things. So that's the short version. All right, so I recently added a few different issues here for things I wanted to do differently. We'll slow it down a little bit. So let's just refresh this. When a new book is added, send a notification. Now that, I think, that's different than saying that I read a book. That's saying that a new book that one could say that one has read gets added. Because we members can suggest books to add to this list, and when they do, if we add them, then we want to let everybody know, hey, we just added such and such book. If you've already read it, you would go and say, hey, I've read it. Yeah, thanks, PlaySmart. So let's look at the admin for adding books, which I didn't write. So let's run this locally again. Since it's Q&A, I have no idea what I should ask. The only thing which come to mind are the obvious questions like, how can I make more money? And I already know the answer, learn more. Well, you get to listen to everybody else's questions too, right? So a lot of times when somebody else asks a question and I answer something that's maybe appropriate to them, then it jars something for you and you're like, oh yeah, I had a similar question, blah, 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 right? Or, my scenario is a little different. What would you say to this? And so having that group dynamic helps a lot. And so the other thing you get when you join is you get access to all the recorded sessions, which have like some notes that say what was discussed. So if you kind of skim through that and you're like seeing, where did you talk about this, where did you talk about that, you can see what was discussed in the past, and then you can decide, if you want to follow up on that or whatever, and ask some more relevant question for your sake. All right, so in here, there's an admin. And under admin, in this super discoverable location down here in the footer, there's a link to books. It's on my to-do list to make this better discoverable, but for now that's how it is. Again, I didn't actually do this part. But here's the books, and you can, in Visual Studio, you can actually scaffold Crud pages really easily, which is all this is, right? So we just defined a book entity, and then we ran Visual Studio Scaffolder to create this list and also these edit details, delete, create pages. So what I want to complete this issue is to add a new book, and when I add a new book, it should fire off an event. Now the event I think already exists. I think someone's already started doing some of this work. So there is, I noticed when we were working earlier, a new book event, new book created event. So there's a new book created event here, and no, I just want to format it. There we go. And let's see if this is used anywhere. It has one reference. So I don't think it's wired up anywhere. That one reference is right here. So, all right. You guys are asking more questions about DevBetter. Mostly a technical solutions-oriented talk rather than business practices. I think you're asking about what I was just saying a few minutes ago about what we're discussing. On devbetter.com, we might talk about anything. So like here, let me pull it up. Here's our, let me just open this up in code. So here's what we talked about today, right? Today we spent much time talking about CI/CD, and we talked about how to do stuff with Pluralsight and how long should courses be and how do you pitch them and how much money do you make. And previously we talked about here we talked about QA. You know, should that just be something that an individual team does and certain people are QA folks, or should the entire team be responsible for quality? And someone else was asking about how to design an API client in C# to work with their web API, right? So they could, basically they were wanting to create APIs, but then not have to hand write all the web client code to talk to them in their other apps. So we talked about how to generate clients from a Swagger doc for the API so that you wouldn't have to create those things by hand. And then earlier in December, we talked about feature toggles, we talked about soft skills, we talked about how to do UI changes with feature flags. Most of these are kind of technical, but not all. So, and we have talked about financial conversations and other things too. So, it's whatever people come up with that they want to discuss. All right. So, here's our new book created event, and where are books created. So in Pages, in Admin, Books, Create, that's where I would expect to find this. And so here, this is because this is generated code that Visual Studio creates. This is not using sort of the DDD way of approaching this. So it does just use a straight up appdb context here. And so we could refactor this to use a repository, which would be the more DDD approach that would follow dependency inversion principle. But this works, and this took 5 minutes to create. So there's definitely, something to be said for having some productivity from code generation tools. So, someday probably I will refactor this, and right now I will clean up all this gray code at least. So I think I want that to look like that. And then I'll have to pull that one using statement back in, like that. All right, and we'll control KD this to match our coding standard, but I'm not going to gain anything right now by putting in a repository here instead of a DB context. All right, this works fine. But when this thing just straight up adds a book, my challenge here is, how am I going to dispatch a domain event? Because domain events happen on save changes, and this book that I just added is this book right here. And this is really not a great design because yeah, it's generated code, but notice the thing I'm model binding to is my data model, right? Which is just a horrible practice. Don't do it. And so if I were to go into my data model, and I hate that this is like Microsoft generated code, but if I were to go into my data model, let's go look at that book, and add something to it, like title, author, details, purchase URL, that's all great. But what if I had something in here that was like, public, let's say I had a user type that mapped to my identity system. User added by user, get set. All right, let's pretend for a minute that this is actually an identity user from my identity system. Okay, why would that be a bad thing? Well, if I go into this create guy here, it's model binding with this bind property all the fields on this book. So when I actually look at the code for this, and I just broke the build, so let me pull this out. But just pretend this added by user thing is there. All right. Let's, while we're here, format it and clean up some junk. All right. Now can we build? We can build. All right. So we come in here, and we look at the admin for books, and we go to create a new book, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 fields we want to add, and those are the same as the 1, 2, 3, 4 properties that are here. But pretend there's that other one, right? So then when I do a post on this, if I hit F12, I look at the network, and I add something, 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 something. I don't think there's a lot of validation on this. It adds that for me, right? And this is just on localhost, so it's fine if it's garbage data. We go find that post. So here's that post. And we scroll down here and we say, what did we just bring in? We brought in that form data. Okay, so great. Let's open up Postman. And let's find this URL. And stop that. Create a new request. It wants to make it go to some collection. Dev Better book add, which we'll put in a new collection called Dev Better. Okay, do that. Alright, so here's my URL. Boom. We're going to post. Boom. We're going to give it a body of raw of whatever was down here. View source. Here's my data. I can just copy all that. Did I copy it all? I don't think I did. Nope. Hang on. Get all the data. It's hard to highlight that. There it is. Control A, Control V, there it is. Title ASDF 2. Let's send that. Okay. So this says I need to log in. So I'd have to have a cookie and stuff to log in. Is there an easy way for me to do that here? Assuming I were logged in, well, I did get a 200 OK, but that's just because it redirected me to the login page. I need my cookie is what I need. Is there an easy way to copy my cookie into here? I don't remember. Import cookies. Authorization. That's my request cookie. I don't want a header. Send. Anybody on chat now? How do I get my cookie into here easily? Like I know I can add cookies here, but it should be under authorization. Authorization. I want to be cookies auth. Add cookie. Well, thanks. Where's that at? Do you see it? Params? No. Cookies in Postman. Alright. Thank you. Let's see what that says. Managing cookies. Go to headers, right? Here you'll find set cookie. So cookies right there under params headers. Manage cookies. Manage cookies. Cookie manager. Add, delete. Postman also provides a cookie manager separately. Yeah, that's what I need. So how do I get a cookie manager? Anyway, this is probably more work than it's worth to show you. Maybe I have to sign in to no. But here's what would happen. Here's the problem. All right, we'll leave you Postman stuff out. But I could take this and let's look at this text here. All right, it's got book.title, yada yada yada. It could also have book.added by user, right? And identity user would let me go in and say, was there a label for cookie? On the right side, there's a label for cookie. On the right side, there's a label, cookie. I'm blind. Just below the URL. There's my URL. Down here, there's cookies. I found that. That's the response. Dun, 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 dun. URL. Midway on the right. This is humorous. I see code. That's not the same as cookies. Below bulk folder. There's bulk. There's code. Bulk code. Bulk edit. Nothing there. Code. Code is not the same as cookies. Is above or below code? Is code what you were seeing? It's a CO word. I looked at code a bunch of times too and was like, oh, is that cookies? No. Make the window bigger. Alright, window's huge. I got examples, I got save, I got bulk edit, I got code. And then I got this request I ran. Maximize. It is maximized. It's as maximized as it gets. There must be a plugin that I don't have. Or I'm on an older version or something. Alright, I think I probably need to get updates for this thing. Resolution to huge. It's big, dude. It's big. All right, I'm not worried about that. All right, here's my point. Because it's using model binding against my entity, I can pass in anything I want. So I could pass in, if I can guess, or if I don't need to guess because it's open source, if I can go look at the source and I can see that there's a user property on here, I could set that user to anything I want. And it'll model bind to it and it'll save it, which is not good. So the other thing is that it will track down the properties, right? So let's say that I had an identity user and I had modified it and I'd given it a property called isAdmin. I could post something that said book dot added by user dot isAdmin equals true, right? That could literally be a string in my post. It could say book dot added by user dot isAdmin equals true, something like that. And what's going to happen is that's going to get translated by model binding. It's going to create this book instance. It's going to set that property, right? Presumably I'd have another property that would give me the username, but it would set it. So that's very bad. It's very bad. Don't do that. Which is why these things should always be DTOs. They should always be explicitly just the data that you want to come in over the wire and not model bind it to everything. Yeah, and I can totally believe I'm probably running an older version of Postman. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole any further. It was really just to show you the reason why you don't model bind to your entities. All right. Okay, so in here, I model bound the book, and I want it to fire off an event. So I suppose what I could do is right here, I could just add the event that I want. So var book added event equals new. Let's go find that event again. Book, new book created event, new book created event with the book. That works, maybe? Or are you green? It might be null. Let's hope it's not. If it's not valid, on post, yeah, it should not be null. But let's do a null check here anyway. What would we do if it was null? I guess we'd just return back the page, maybe. So if book equals null, return page. There, now you're never null. Resolution is too big, can't read the text, it's blurry. Oh, well, that's a different problem. I can fix that, sorry. Let's go to my options. I thought when you were saying the resolution wasn't big and the window wasn't big enough that that was a different problem, but usually it's already at 16, that's pretty big. Let's go to 20. Say okay. There was a moment there where my bandwidth was stuttering and it looked like it was not streaming at a high enough bandwidth. I think that's good now. We'll make it really big though so you can see. Hopefully that's better. Let me check my streaming settings, see if there's any change on the fly. Usually it requires you to re-stream if you change any of these video bit rates. That's much better. Good, good. Glad to hear it. Okay. So video, yeah, I mean it's at 1920 by 1080. That's not that high res. It's just a question of my bandwidth is keeping up. And right now it's showing kilobits per second is 4500, which is about what it should be. So we should be okay, I think, stream-wise. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube later, it's just a matter of how well YouTube encodes it. Okay, you can exclude binding with property attributes. Yes, that helps, but you have to remember to do it. You can zoom in without changing the font size. Right, yeah, down here. I'm okay to just change the font size because if I do the zoom in, it's hit or miss whether that sticks around for the next thing I open. If I just change the font size, it'll be the same everywhere. So let me just do this while I'm still thinking of it. Book.events.add book added event. Alright, so this is the logic that'll make it so that when I save changes here, it's going to dispatch this event. And then I just need to handle that event somewhere. So let me answer a couple more questions here. Mezu80, as part of membership at DevEditor, do you do one-on-one personal mentorship? I'm thinking about video calls where I can first describe my experience so you know where I am and I can just... Yeah, I mean, there's some of that. I mean, I do talk to people one-on-one, usually just over chat, but, you know, occasionally on calls. It's not something that you'd get necessarily every week or all the time because I don't scale that well. But certainly initially, if you wanted to just do a one-on-one, talk or chat or whatever, and kind of see where you're at, that's fine. A lot of folks start out wanting to talk to just me and just have questions for me, and then a lot of the times their questions are the same questions a lot of other people have. So I try and, anything that's not really personal and specific to your case, I try and put out into the Discord channel or into one of our open Q&As, because then everybody benefits from it. And I don't know everything, right? My ego is probably bigger than a lot of people, but I try and keep it in check. So I know I don't know everything. So other people have experience to share too. And I will let them, answer your question with what worked for them and what their experience is. And I think hopefully that adds value too. All right, so what are we trying to do here? Let's get back to trying to remember what I was doing. So we'll come back out of there. We'll go back to my thing. When a new book is added, send a notification to book discussion. I have a handler for that now, right? We just created that. So the webhook exists, right? The handler doesn't exist, but the webhook exists. So the webhook that we want is book discussion webhook. This will send it to the right place. What I need is a handler so that when that happens, I will send it to that place. So I need a Discord handler. It's going to look a lot like this one that we just worked on. So this one said, hey, when a member says they read a book, we will fire that off. We're going to want one that looks just like that, but it's more about when the admin adds a new book to tell everybody. So Discord log new book added to general list, I guess. That's kind of long, but that's okay. I don't want to rename because it'll end up renaming the other one. So we'll do that. I do want to put it in its own file, so we'll do that. And then we'll go Discord new book added here. Now I do probably, Tony, if you're still here, he was recommending feature folders at some point. So I will probably break this up into some kind of feature folder based thing, because I'm starting to get a lot of handlers and they're not really organized in any good way, except that these are all Discord things. But like book related things maybe could go together, and user password related things could go together, and we can organize this a little better eventually. But not as part of this work. So as this work, new book added here, it's going to go to the book discussion. So the webhook is correct. It's a different event though. So this event is not member added book event. Instead it is a new book created event. So we want to handle that. New book created event, new book created event, new book created event. Alright, now since I was smart and I named this thing generically, I don't have to rename that everywhere. But we have different stuff now, so it's going to look something like this. New book added to, what is this thing even called? Reading, what do I call these things? To general book list. How about that? That's probably good enough. Check it out here. Where's the list of books? I don't remember. So somewhere there's a way to see a list of all the books that's not the leaderboard, but maybe the leaderboard is the right place to see it. So you come in here, you click on the leaderboard, there's the books, there's that new book I added. Is there a better place to see this that members can get to? Like admin can get to this list, but members can't get to this because this is just to edit the list. So members would be probably here. I think this is probably the best spot. Then you can see the leaderboard over here. So we'll keep that the same. Still show them the leaderboard. Check it out, the leaderboard. That's not good. Check out. That's better. And then let's fix that on the other one too. Discord, this one. Check it out, the leaderboard. There. Okay. So now when I add a book, this should fire and it should show up in the book discussion. This should all work now, except that on localhost I don't have the GitHub URLs in my app settings anymore because I was smart and got rid of them. So I guess I just won't test this locally because I know it's going to work. So let's just create a pull request. because that never goes wrong. So let's create a new branch. Ardalis slash new book added event, we'll say. And let's see if we can push this here. Cleaned up some things. Fire new book added event when adding a new book. There we go. Push that out. And then we'll go back here. And this is number 154. So we'll come over here. Add new book added event handler. Fixes number 154. That one. Create the pull request. We're getting all kinds of stuff done today. And since this will take a minute to get merged and build, maybe I will go ahead and just to kind of show how to do it, swap that out to use a DTO in a repository for that for that generated code. All right, so while that's doing its thing, we can go back to master, maybe. Well, I should really wait for that. No, I guess I can just branch off of where I'm at. So let's do a new branch from where we are. Let's say Ardalis slash refactor book admin. And then let's just clean some technical debt here. So let's close this up because I shouldn't need it. Let's go into just this books section here. This is all generated by Visual Studio. I don't necessarily want to have this appdb context being injected in here. I'd rather use a repository. And I already pointed out why I don't want to just use this book here. I want to use some kind of a DTO. So let's create a Book Dto here. Public class book DTO, or even view model. It's probably a little more clear. And then let's give it the same properties and such as book. But we only want it to have the ones that it should have from the web form, not anything else we might add later. So I have too many tabs open. Let's go here, paste this in. There's our book view model. We can put this into its own class right here inside this pages folder. I could put it as part of create, and maybe I will. But I think I'm going to use it for edit as well, and maybe even for details. So I'm going to keep it there for the time being. But now this becomes book view model book, and then this stuff here needs to map from that. So let's see, var book entity equals new book. And then I can just do this manually for now. So it's got an author equals book.author. It's got details equals book.details. And you can use AutoMapper for this kind of thing if there's a bunch. But this is just 4 things, so I'm just going to do it manually for right this second. And it finally has a title, book.title, like that. Alright, so we can create this book entity. And then all these other things just work with book entity from that point on. So this becomes the book entity, and this becomes the book entity, and this becomes the book entity, and that doesn't need to be there. Hey Melvin, how's it going? Yeah, that looks good. Right, and then this thing talks about overposting attacks, which I was just describing. So get rid of that, as I just fixed it, for this one anyway. Okay, now if we also want to do the repository approach, we need to see what does our repository interface look like. which I don't remember for this one. Is it here? Alright, so we have an iRepository, and I want to add. This is the only thing I need. I need this iRepository to add async. This is a generic repository, but notice it's not a repository of T, right? This is generic at the method level. So I can pass in an iRepository to anything, and then I can reference any base entity. So it's pretty flexible. There's some trade-offs when you do it this way. Using a decorator on this is a little more challenging than with an iRepository of a specific type. But I go back and forth with different approaches. But here I can just come in now and I can say I need an iRepository, and I can assign that to a field, and then I can rename that field to be correct. There, I don't need this. Do that. And then here, the only thing I'm doing is these two lines. So those become a repository instead. So that becomes underscore repo dot add async of the entity, book entity, like that. And we await on that. And we don't need that. Now that should work. And I'm pretty confident it will. So I'm going to be bold and delete all this other stuff I don't think I need anymore with the appdb context. And that looks decent. Now, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot and end up with a merge conflict. Oh, that's not good. This thing blew up. Service not available for NuGet.org. What? Is NuGet.org down? That seems unlikely. It's weird. 503 service not available. Okay. It seems unlikely that NuGet is down, but let's do NuGet.org. Just hit that. That works. And don't they have a status? Status? Was it down a minute ago? I really doubt it's them. Last checked. Yeah, everything seems fine. Right. Viceni's pointing out why the repository that doesn't need a different repo per type is a problem. It's fixing a problem of having too many dependencies, but it's also hiding that problem, right? So as he's pointing out in the chat, right there, the issue is that you won't necessarily notice that your class is using like 10 different entities because there's just one repository to get to all of them. In this case, I'm not too worried about that because this is the whole class, right? So there's not a whole lot else here. But yeah, I can see that concern. In fact, the whole reason why this pattern exists the way it does is to make it so it's easier to pass around your data access without having to pass in a whole lot of different things. The other thing that helps with that, of course, is the aggregate pattern, so that you only have to worry about the root of the aggregate that you have a repository for and not every individual little entity that you might have to work with. Is DevBetter website on Blazor, and is there any parity purchasing power to attend a workshop of yours in DevBetter? DevBetter website is not Blazor, at least not yet. Parity purchasing power to attend a workshop. I'm not sure what that means. I don't have discounts for DevBetter members to come to my workshops, but then my workshops aren't really done like that. They're mostly private company things, so not sure how that would work. But there are some perks, like occasionally I like send books and stuff to DevBetter members and other things like that, but that's about it as far as what it gets you, other than, membership. Alright, so I think this is working. I think if I do another pull request, it should work. I want that other build to pass, but I think we'll just make a new PR and see if this one works. So I should be okay because I didn't branch off a master. I branched off of my other branch. So when I make a pull request for this one, it should be fine. So let's just push this up there. refactored book create to use a DTO and repository. And like I said, this could have been an automapper thing. I don't remember if I have automapper in this one yet, but when it's this simple and when it's the first time, I just do it manually. And if I have to do it multiple times and there's repetition, then I refactor to get rid of the repetition. But I don't want to just start with a tool that might be more than I need if all I need is something simple. So that's kind of the reason why I'm just doing that by hand here. Alright, so commit that, push it local, or push it to the remote. Let's see if we can get this build passing before we're done for today. So over here, this is broke. We'll go here, create a new pull request for refactoring book admin, and we'll call it just that. And it doesn't really have an issue it goes with. So we'll create that PR. And let's see if this passes. So the other thing we can do is make sure all our tests run locally, which they should. Let's close all but this. Let's run all our tests. And we're all good. 83 milliseconds later. Power of unit tests. Alright. So it took 83 seconds on my machine. What's it going to take? Well, I don't know that it's going to fail because I'm hoping that it was a NuGet.org problem, even though I saw that NuGet.org wasn't down. But I don't know why there was a 503 error, because it works fine on my machine. I can build with NuGet.org. So it could be that it's an issue on Github Actions. If it is, I'm hoping it's temporary. So we're going to find out in a second. So it's not temporary. Alright, so why is it getting a 503 trying to get EF? This isn't anything I did, right? So API NuGet.org, that URL, I get it just fine. So why is GitHub Actions getting a 503? GitHub Actions NuGet 503. What's the issue? This one. So deploying this, whatever, you get this, could not retrieve, yada yada, and they're like, you can catch that. NuGet.org is degraded in 2018. What's the workaround? Workaround, you can download NuGet.exe. That's from 2017. Yeah, I don't think it's my code. So the question is, how do I get this to work? Here, let's see. Failed to retrieve information, Discord net webhook from remote source, API NuGet.org, whatever. Yeah, so every one of these is a 503 on the restore. Issue with NuGet. That's not anything that's helping. Restore should use new connections after it gets a non-success. So if it gets a non-success, what, it just keeps doing it? That looks like what I have. Point NuGet at a feed that fails. New connections are not created after failures. Instead, the original one keeps failing. This is up for grabs for somebody to fix. So maybe this is what happened to me. Maybe I hit some... I mean, I'm only hitting NuGet.org. I'm not hitting anything else. So I don't see how this would have happened that I mean, maybe it's because I hit NuGet once and then it died, but then each one of these GitHub actions spins up a new VM. It should be a brand new virtual machine doing it. Let's just try and rerun it. And while we're at it, we can run the other one too. So that's the refactor, that's this one. Rerun all these. Alright, so these two are, I mean, this one builds on that one, so if this one passes, this one's good to go too. But I need them both to pass so I can close the PRs out. This says it already failed, but I think maybe that's referring to the original one. I hope. While we're waiting, I'm going to go find somebody else to raid in a couple minutes, but if anybody has any last questions about any of the stuff we were working on today or whatever, let me know. I don't imagine I'll be streaming a week from now since that's Christmas Day. So happy holidays and Merry Christmas, everyone, if I would otherwise have seen you next week. I might try and do a stream maybe next Wednesday instead, but I'm sure I'll be doing family things on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Yeah, so let's see what this build does. I'll see who else is on stream right now. Let's go livecoders.dev. Thanks, coder01. Mute that. Let's see. Maybe we'll try James Montemagno today. See what he's up to. He's doing stuff with some kind of XAML, so probably Xamarin, I would guess. So let's see what he's got. I'll wait until this build passes that I want to see what that does. Can we restore? That is the question. Excuse me. Here it goes. Hey, it restored. That's good. It wasn't me. Alright, the rest of this should be quick then. The restore takes the longest. Why are you saying it started down here? You already did it. Restore, restore, restore. Hey, and I'm going to start. That makes no sense. Ah, now you're restoring client stuff. Alright, that makes sense. Alright, so restored my NuGet stuff, restored my client stuff, built everything, running the tests. 50 passed. Everything's happy. Cool. Let's see the other one running too. That one's green, that one's green. We're all set. Alright, let's go to our pull request. Let's do 157 first. Merge that one. Confirm. This should trigger a deployment. And we can delete that branch. And we can come out to the other one. And it might say that it's out of date now, but I don't think so. Oh, it has conflicts. Great. Alright, resolve the conflicts. Where are there conflicts? I continued to branch off the same branch. So this one has an interface. Master does not. I need the interface because I'm using a repository. This one has a repository. That one has a DB context. I want this one, of course. And this one wants the DTO. The other one didn't have the DTO. And I want to keep that. I want to get rid of that. Basically, keep the branch that I'm in is what I'm telling it. But because of that merge happening after, that's what confused it. So we'll mark all this as resolved, commit that merge, let it build again just in case I broke it, and we'll commit that. Meanwhile, let's yeah, I'm not going to make you wait for that. So let's click and bring up the stream manager, and that has a raid button in which we'll say James Montmagno, and we will start the raid. And I will say for real this time, thank you, have a good weekend, happy holidays. Hope to see you maybe sometime in the next couple weeks if I'm streaming on different days. But otherwise, I'll catch you in 2021. And I'll pop in with James and see what he's working on real quick. Bye.